Yeah, for the next 15 minutes, just going to talk about what you can expect at WordCamp London. My name is Gary Jones. I'm one of the organisers for WordCamp London. This is my third time doing it. And yeah, we'll just come see what to expect. So WordCamp London is over 3 days, as Dan said at the start. It's Friday the 13th. We'll see how that goes. Saturday the 14th and Sunday the 15th. We're expecting about 600 attendees, which makes us the largest in the UK and the second largest in Europe. Somebody said the other day about the third largest in the world, presumably behind WordCamp Europe and WordCamp US. So on the Friday then, Friday the 13th, we have a contributor day. We're expecting about 100 people for that. There's actually a few more than that because we've got kind of volunteers in as well. The doors open at 9 o'clock and we run from 9:30 until 5 o'clock. So it's an all-day thing. As well as the actual contributor day, which we'll talk about in a minute, we're also having a kids workshop, which is the first time that we're doing that at WordCamp London as well. We're getting 20 children in from one of the local schools. We're going to have 10 volunteers, and for 2.5 hours, we're going to teach them how to get to grips with WordPress, how to add content, how to publish their own site. So that's something new that we're doing. Now, Contributor Day, we've actually got 12 recognised teams. We've got team leads for each of these. You don't have to be a developer. So if you can speak multiple languages, you could join the Polyglots team. If you're more interested in design, you can be part of the design team. We've got marketing, WordPress coding standards. That's the new table that we've not had this year. The WordPress coding standards team is trying to become a recognised team as well. So we're starting off in the wider WordPress community. So we're starting off having them at the Contributor Day. It's WPCLI, yeah, all those up there. So you don't have to be a developer. There's plenty of things that are not developers there. We're also going to have a new contributor session. So if you've never contributed before, if you don't know about Track, about make.wordpress.org, about kind of Slack, anything like that, John, who's sitting over there, is going to be running kind of a 20-minute, half-an-hour session to introduce people to do that. And then for some of the teams who need kind of local environments to be able to test on, kind of he'll help you kind of get that set up as well. As well as the main room, which you can see kind of just there, it can get quite busy. Then we also have breakout rooms as well. So we're not all kind of completely squished into the same room. There's some kind of extra space as well. And we put individual teams out that can handle that. The benefits of Contributor Day is obvious if you think about the day is about contributors, not contributions. The chance for you is to learn something new. You join one of these teams, you might not know much about accessibility, but you want to contribute. If you go and join that team, I can assure you, you will learn something from that. You get to meet your peers in person, and you can get to work with them on a particular problem, writing something new for marketing, helping set up a new WordPress meetup in the community team, and so on. And it's your chance to give back to the community. So for those of you who kind of build your business around WordPress, this is your chance to give a day that feeds back to this free and open source software that we use that is actually for a lot of kind of people paying their wages. On the Saturday and Sunday then, we have the main kind of event. As you turn up, first thing on the Saturday morning, you'll go into registration. You give them your name. You'll be it's organised by your first name initial. You get your badge on your lanyard, and then you'll be directed towards the tea and coffee. And there's also breakfast nibbles as well. Your Wi-Fi credentials are on your badge, but we accept late registration throughout the whole event. So if you can't get there first thing Saturday morning, Saturday afternoon, some people can only make it Sunday, that's fine. You don't have to be there just for that registration. Hopefully then, one of the main reasons for going to the conference is the engaging talks. Although, to be fair, kind of the guy in the yellow t-shirt there doesn't look too engaged. He was sat over in there. That was it, yeah. Yeah, you can go back to sleep now, that's fine. And so the actual talks on the Saturday, I know that's kind of too small to read, but on the Saturday we've got 26 speakers over 21 sessions. And on the Sunday, we've got at least 21 speakers, there's 20 up there at the moment, on 15 sessions. We've got a panel session at the top, which is not filled up yet. The Sunday starts slightly later, so doors open from 10 o'clock. That's to allow kind of any sore heads there might be on the Saturday social. Topics are quite varied. Now, if you go to something, I've not been to one myself, but apparently if you go to something like a DrupalCon or kind of other kind of similar events, it's very developer orientated. How to do X in Drupal, how to do Y in Drupal, all kind of very code based. At WordPress and WordCamp events, we don't have that, and certainly not at WordCamp London. So our talk topics are broken down. We've grouped them by business, community, design, and development. And we've also got another topic called Hot Topic, which covers kind of the Gutenberg, which we mentioned earlier, GDPR, and blockchain, which are all kind of fairly in the news and relevant at the moment. We also have different talk types. So here, this is, I think, last year or the year before. We've got a panel. You can see John sitting there again. So that's Mike Little, the WordPress co-founder, then Constantine, Pascal, John, and Tammy, who are all core committers. That was that particular panel. We've got one panel this year. We've got 4 lightning sessions, which are 3 lots of 10-minute talks each. We've got also 3 workshops. So if you're interested in taking part in one of those workshops, make sure you bring your laptop along. And then the rest are all kind of standard length talks. So quite varied on that. We've got 3 tracks. The biggest room is track A. That's the Great Hall. It's in the building called The Rocket. That's just above where you're going for registration. We've got track B is the Graduate Centre. That's where the Contributor Day is. So if you come to Contributor Day, you'll know where that is. And then we have the Henry Thomas room, which is where track C is, and that's in a separate building. Now, because track B often gets quite kind of busy in terms of the number of people who want to go and see one of the talks there, we also provide a monitor just outside. So if there is, if the room monitors do close the door and say, no, you can't come in, or perhaps you're just late for a session, you say, well, what do I do now? Head to track B and there'll be a monitor outside. Now, there is plenty of walking. Track A, track B, and track C are technically in 3 different buildings. The easiest way to get from track A to the rest is to go outside, walk along, and come back inside again. That's the way we'll be directing you. To get from B to C, you follow kind of a little bit of a maze inside. There is signage. So my suggestion would be kind of travel light and bring a good bag. You can see there that kind of there's some 34SP and some other swag that has been picked up there. The talks are all recorded. So just like we record the WordPress meetup here, all the talks are recorded. These ones go on to WordPress.tv. And it takes between 3 to 6 weeks generally to get them all uploaded. So if there's two talks that you want to go to, you're a bit of a conflict, pick one because you'll know that in a few weeks the other talk will be up. At the moment, there's no speakers who have said they don't want to be recorded, so they should all be going up. Obviously, just be courteous. I'm sure nobody's going to be kind of there to cause a riot, but please be courteous to speakers, as I'm sure you will do. Obviously, the time when we don't want you to can be completely quiet is when there's a chance to ask questions. I'd say think carefully. Don't just raise your hand and make a point. Think carefully about the question you're going to ask. What question is going to be of value to the other people in the room? There is time, if your question isn't suitable to ask in the whole room, to chat to the speakers. After every session, there's either a room change, a break, or lunch, a minimum of which is kind of 20 minutes for the room change. So there's plenty of time to catch the speakers and ask your kind of question one-to-one before they kind of disappear off into the rest of the event. Now, if you've been to other conferences before, you might recognise something called the hallway track. And this is where you kind of get a chance to take a mental break from all the things you've been listening to, but also to catch up with people who you may only have met online before. It's the chance to kind of engage one-to-one, just while some of the other, a lot of the people are busy in the talks. There's space to work there, so if you really do have to work on that Saturday or the Sunday, then there's plenty of tables around. The Wi-Fi works for all 3 buildings, so you're always going to be kind of connected if you do need to get some work done. Now, one of the things Dan mentioned in the introduction was the fact that the 4.9.5 kind of, he said, raised the minimum version of PHP to 7.2. It's this recommended version. So don't all panic that your kind of client sites on WordPress kind of 7.1 is suddenly going to fail. It's the recommended version of PHP that's been kind of upgraded. One of the things that we're laying on is this PHP upgrade bar. So for those people who don't know what PHP is or what version of PHP they're running, or certainly how to go updating it, you can head to what we're calling the activities room. It's going to be in the room below where the contributor day is, underneath track B. And you can there'll be somebody there who can help you to learn that and to do that. Obviously, the advantage is that you'll get kind of better security because of the older versions of PHP aren't supported. There is better performance in the newer versions, and some plugins just don't run on the older versions. So you'll get the benefit of all of that if you can kind of get to a higher version of PHP. In the same room, also running a happiness bar. So if you've got a particular question about WordPress, a kind of a general question, what is the best plugin to do X? How do I do such and such? Head to the happiness bar, and they're all kind of a general, it's a bit like the Apple bar, isn't it, really? They'll be able to answer kind of any question you've got, or certainly kind of direct you into the right place for that. We're also running something called the Guten Bar. This is run on the Sunday lunchtime. So it's a single session, it's an hour long, and it's a way of discussing how we can support certainly the UK WordPress community for the upcoming new editor, this Gutenberg editor. We've invited people from large agencies, small agencies, and individual freelancers for them to kind of give a demonstration, perhaps what they've done so far, or to kind of discuss how they are kind of preparing their team, preparing their kind of their developers, and perhaps how they're preparing their existing clients or their new clients for this block-based editor, which is completely different to the classic editor that we know at the moment. There'll also be a chance for some Q&A with kind of some predetermined questions in there as well. Now, one of the focus that we've had for WordCamp London over the last kind of 3 or 4 years is about inclusivity and accessibility. One of the things you can see here is the screen on the right. That's what we call speech-to-text reporting. And that's where it's predominantly aimed at those who are deaf or hard of hearing. And it's basically real-time typing up of what the speaker or the MC is saying. It's good for everybody because if you get distracted or you're struggling with an accent that somebody might have, you can just read up on the side exactly what they've said. So that's kind of a real bonus for that. As well as that, we also have a quiet room for those who need it, a lactation room, we've got a childcare, so a creche, we've got a multi-faith room, and everywhere is wheelchair accessible except one little bit, and we have a volunteer standing by if somebody needs something from, it's where the tea and coffee is. Speaking of tea and coffee, that's free. It's available pretty much all day. There's one bit near track A. There's one bit near track B. I'd also suggest you bring a water bottle to reuse. It just saves on kind of not using the plastic and paper cups. That's all included. I'm saying it's free. In lunch, we also provide lunch on the Friday, the Saturday, and the Sunday. There's hot and cold food for the lunch. There's vegetarian or meat, and we also have kind of special dietary requirements. When you filled up your ticket, you could kind of put the option down if that applied to you. For the Saturday evening, we also feed you dinner as well. Pretty much is pies. So this year we've got steak and mushroom, chicken and leek, butternut squash, which is vegan, and spinach and mushroom, which is vegan. All the pies are gluten-free pastry. There's no nuts, there's no pork. The mashed peas and baked beans are all vegan as well. And the gravy is one meat and one vegan as well. So there's plenty of options there for people that can get your food free. The price alone, some people say that the price of the ticket alone is worth all the food that we kind of give you throughout the day, throughout the kind of 2 days, 3 days. Then on the Saturday, we have a social event. So this is your chance to kind of catch up with friends, catch up with speakers who you might not have caught up with earlier. We'll have some sort of games going on. Then probably will be likely be some drinks tokens. And once we've fed you, then you get your drinks tokens. It is a student bar, so hopefully we're not going to be too expensive, which is good. I see people liking that already. It's your chance for networking, but as somebody said to me yesterday, there's only one letter difference between networking and not working. And as well in that social, if there is kind of a small niche of people who want to get together, I'm in there somewhere. I do a lot with the Genesis Framework, and this was just one of our Genesis Framework meetups. You can do that as well. Just have something social, something official, something unofficial, however you want to do it. Let the WordCamp London organisers know, and we can put it up on one of the blog posts so that other people in that niche can find out and join as well. Now, there's plenty of swag to pick up. So there is a swag table, which will have kind of stickers and leaflets and sweets and pens and notepads and all sorts. It's all free. Go and help yourself. In terms of the WordCamp London WAPU, this is 4. You'll see the other one later. So there'll be some WAPU stickers there. So if you want to stick them on your laptop or your desktop PC, that's fine. You can kind of grab some of those. They'll be around. And next to the swag is obviously all the sponsors. Now, they help pay for a lot of the being able to run the event. They'll have their own swag, so kind of T-shirts and drinks bottles, power packs and cakes and discount codes and so on. Go and kind of get what you can from them. If you've got a problem, so if one of the hosts is, if one of the sponsors is your host, for instance, and you've got a problem with your website, go and speak to them in person. It's a great opportunity to meet them face to face and kind of hopefully get a quicker resolution than kind of speaking to them over a support ticket. Likewise, hopefully we're going to have a community kind of job announcements board as well. But if there's somebody there you think, I really want to go and work for one of these kind of companies, go and speak to them in person. Get that application process, kind of find out more about it. How do you get started on that? Really worth going and speaking to the sponsors if you can. There's 2 lots of sponsors. So there's one lots of sponsor near track B, which is the other slide. And then the larger sponsors are in the rocket, which is underneath track A. As Dan said, we're still looking for ideally some more sponsors. We need 1 arena sponsor and 4 studio sponsors. I mean, we've got 600 people. This is a good opportunity. The details about what those packages include are on the website, but if not, come speak to me or Dan, and we can kind of point you in the right direction. It literally came within the last kind of day and a half or so. that if one of the sponsors hadn't signed up, we might not have been able to have some of the swag that we were aiming for. So it really is kind of that close. If we don't get the money coming in from sponsors, then which makes up a predominant of our income, then we can't provide all that we otherwise do. The sponsors will often have competitions. So if you're happy to go and hand over your name and email address, presumably to get on their mailing list, then you might be able to win an iPad mini, as somebody did there, a drone, or some other competition. There's usually one or two going on. So do make sure you go and speak to the sponsors. Now, this year, volunteers, there's going to be about 40 of them, and then 13 organisers on the day as well. They're going to be in bright blue T-shirts. It's not quite the same as this, but it's a very similar colour blue to this. So if you've got any issues that you're perhaps lost or you need help with anything, go and speak to one of them. They're very friendly people. They don't bite, and they can at least direct you into the right direction if they're not quite sure themselves. Now, these volunteers, they'll be kind of floating around, they'll be guiding people, but they also act as kind of room monitors and mic runners. They'll also be kind of the door monitors as well, the timekeepers. They have jobs kind of watching or in the luggage room, watching the green room, guiding people for lunch, running registration, and so on. Now, if you really kind of get stuck, then you can always go and see reception. So that's a kind of fixed place that you can always go and see. That's in the front of the rocket. So when you go in to register, you'll have to walk past this place. You'll find it if you need any help there. Now, we said it's a bit of a maze to get from places, so there is plenty of signage around. There's 242 pieces of signage directing you and labelling you everywhere, and it's not 242 unique pieces, but David over here kind of created them all. So if you see some of his beautiful artwork around, this is from last year, WordCamp 2017, but you'll see the new ones are all kind of white-based, similar to the slides here, directing you everywhere, then you know kind of who's done them. We have these schedules up on the wall as well. So the Saturday schedules go up obviously on Saturday, and we switch it Sunday morning. We'll also switch the WordCamp London website. So the homepage shows the schedule. And if you're on Android as well, there's a WordCamp app that you can download, and WordCamp London is on there as well. So you can kind of very easily kind of get that locally as well. There's lots of ways to find out what is on the schedule. Now, tickets are required for the childcare creche, and a lot of those have already gone, but otherwise children are welcome. We are a family-safe event. We do have a code of conduct that everybody who's getting tickets will have agreed to, but otherwise children are welcome. We just ask, obviously, be courteous to the speakers and other listeners. If they can't settle in a talk, obviously please leave and try and settle them. Beyond that, have fun. It's a great experience. If you've never been to a WordCamp before, if you've never been to a WordCamp London before, how a 600-person event runs is going to be different to how a 200-person event runs. It's going to be different to how kind of WordCamp Europe or WordCamp US, which is thousands of people, runs. We think we do it pretty well. There's lots to take away. There's the swag. There's new viewpoints and opinions from the speakers. And obviously, there's a social networking aspect as well with your peers. So I'll say thank you for your time. If you've got any questions, come and find me. If you want to sponsor, come and find me, and we can direct you in the right place. Otherwise, london@wordcamp.org is the main email address if you want to contact the organising team. Thank you.